The night was cloaked in a quiet that felt heavier than usual, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Clara Bennett sat alone in her living room, the soft glow of candles casting flickering shadows across the walls. At 58, Clara had grown accustomed to solitude. Since her husband Thomas passed away a decade ago, her son Nathan was away for a week-long conference in London, leaving the house. To her and her thoughts, she sipped her Merlot, the rich velvety taste warming her, as jazz hummed softly from the stereo clad in a silk nightgown that clung lightly to her frame. She felt a rare sense of peace, a fleeting escape from the loneliness that had become her constant companion. These evenings were her sanctuary, a way to cradle her heart in the stillness. But tonight, something felt different, an undercurrent of anticipation. She couldn't quite place. Clara leaned back on the couch, her hazel eyes tracing the dance of the candlelight. She wasn't one to dwell on the past, but memories of Thomas often crept in. On these quiet nights she missed his, the way he'd pull her close and whisper promises of forever losing him had carved a hollow space in her one. She'd learned to navigate with grace, yet as the music swelled a pang of long and stirred within her, not just for Thomas, but for the vibrancy of life. She'd tucked away the doorbell's sharp chimes, hattered the silence, startling Clara her. Wineglass trembled in her hand, as she set it down. Her brow furrowing. Who could be here at this hour? She tightened the sash of her nightgown, suddenly aware of how exposed she felt, and padded to the door, peering through. The peephole her breath caught. Standing on her porch was James Harper, Nathan's closest friend and colleague. His dark blazer hugged his broad shoulders, his chestnut hair slightly tousled, giving him an effortless charm that Clara had always noticed but never lingered on. In his hands were Nathan's laptop bag and a stack of folders. Clara opened the door, her heart skipping as James's deep blue eyes met hers. "James, what are you doing here?" she asked. Her voice, tinged with surprise and a hint of unease she hadn't expected company, let alone him, hovered a warm, disarming smile. "Evening. Clara, Nathan and I were working on a project and I finished my part. Didn't want to hold on to his stuff any longer. So I thought I'd drop by." His tone was casual, but his gaze lingered, taking in her appearance. The soft waves of her auburn hair, the delicate silk of her gown. Clara's cheeks warmed under his scrutiny. "Oh, of course, come in, please. It's lit. You shouldn't be out in the cold." She stepped aside, gesturing him inside as she closed the door. She felt a self-conscious tug. The candlelight cast in a golden hue over her. James's eyes flickered over her for a moment before, looked away, respectful, but not before. She noticed he stepped into the living room, his presence filling the space, surveying the scene, the candles, the wine, the music. He raised an eyebrow, a playful glint in his eyes. "Looks like I'm interrupting a private soiree," he teased, his voice low and warm. Clara laughed, setting her glass on the coffee table. "Hardly just a quiet night these evenings. They're my way of finding peace since..." "Thomas?" She paused, surprised by her own candor. "But I'm glad you're here, James. I haven't had the chance to really talk with you." James's smile softened his eyes, holding hers with the sincerity that made her pulse quicken. "We haven't, have we? I've known Nathan forever, but I've always wanted to tell you how much I admire you, Clara. The way you've supported Nathan, the strength you carry, it's remarkable." Her heart fluttered. This word, she motioned for him to sit, and as he settled onto the couch, she fetched another wine glass from the kitchen, pouring him a drink. She felt their shift, James' quiet confidence. Anchoring the room, there was something about him, his steady gaze, his easy warmth, that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't in years. They sipped their wine, the conversation flowing. Effortlessly, James spoke of his work, his travels, the dreams he still chased at 39. Clara shared stories of her garden, the books she'd read, and tentatively the weight of her solitude as they talked. The space between them seemed to shrink, charged with an unspoken energy. James' eyes lingered on her longer now, his gaze tracing the curve of her cheek, the way her lips parted when she laughed. Clara felt a flush creep up her neck, her heart stirring with a mix of thrill and trepidation. It had been so long since she'd felt this. A spark, a pull, a yearning she thought she'd buried Clara. James said at last, his voice low, dulled, deliberate. He set his glass down, leaning forward slightly. Seeing you like this alone, it doesn't sit right with me. You're incredible, strong, beautiful. But I see the loneliness in you, and it feels unfair. His words hit like a stone dropped into still water, rippling through her. Clara's breath hitched, her fingers tightening around her glass. The room seemed to close in the candlelight, sharpening the intensity of his gaze. James, she started, her voice faltering. Loneliness can be a choice, you know, a shield. He tilted his head, his expression, thoughtful maybe, but a shield can become a cage, Clara. His voice was soft but firm, and the weight of it settled deep within her. The air grew thick with tension, a magnetic pull that both terrified and exhilarated her. James's eyes held a warmth, a hunger that mirrored the aches. She felt she wanted to look away, to retreat to the safety of her solitude, but she couldn't. Not tonight, James. She said, her voice barely above a whisper. Why are you alone? You're successful, charming, kind. Any woman would be lucky to have you. Her words spilled out before she could stop them, her eyes searching his. He chuckled, a ruffle sound, and ran a hand through his hair. Sometimes loneliness is a choice for me too, or maybe I've been too picky, or he paused, his gaze locking onto hers. Maybe the right person was closer than I realized, and I was just too blind to see. Clara's heart pounded, her mind racing to process his words. Was he saying what? She thought the implication hung between them, heavy and undeniable. She felt a flush spread across her cheeks, but she managed a small smile. Any woman who knows you would be a fool to let you go, James. His eyes darkened, intense and unyielding. What about you, Clara? Asked his voice, cutting through the silence. Why do you stay alone? You've been on your own for years. Has it been easy? Choosing that. The question caught her off guard, piercing through her defenses. I'm 58. James, after Thomas. I couldn't imagine opening my heart again. Loneliness feels safer. Her voice trembled and she looked down, unable to hold his gaze. But when she glanced up, his eyes were fixed on her, warm and magnetic, pulling her in the moments, stretched the air pulsing with possibility. Clara's chest tightened, her emotions a tangle of fear and desire. She hadn't felt this alive in years, and it scared her as much as it thrilled her as the night deepened. Clara found herself thinking of James long after he left his. Words his gaze had burrowed into her, refusing to let go over the next few days. They met again, coffee at a quiet cafe. Long talks in his car, late-night phone calls that stretched into the eerily hours. Each encounter deepened, their bond effortless and electric. Clara felt herself unraveling her carefully built walls crumbling under the weight of his presence. But with every smile, every touch of his hand, guilt gnawed at her. James was Nathan's best friend. How could she feel this way? Yet the pull was undeniable, a force she couldn't resist. She was fallen, and it both terrified and exhilarated her. One evening, James texted her an address and a simple message: "Meet me here tonight. At 8, I have something to show you. Just you." Her hand shook as she read it, her heart racing with a mix of dread and excitement. She knew this was no ordinary invitation. This was a turning point. Clara stood before her, mirror slipping into a sleek black dress that hugged her curves at soft, the shoulder, design bold yet elegant. She let her hair fall in loose waves. Her lips painted a deep crimson. For the first time in years, she felt beautiful, desirable. "This is for me," she whispered, though she knew it was for James too. At the address, James waited by his car, his sleeves rolled up, one hand resting casually on the steering wheel. His eyes lit up when he saw her, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Clara," he said, his voice a soft caress. "Come with me, I need to show you something important." She took his hand, her fingers trembling, and slid into the passenger seat. They drove in silence, the night wrapping around them like a cocoon. Minutes later, James pulled up to Asmal House, nestled in the hills, its windows glowing warmly against the dark. The air was crisp. The stars, sharp above, inside Clara's breath, caught the house. Was a masterpiece, high ceilings, moonlight streaming through wide windows, warm wood accents and a crackling fireplace. Every detail felt intentional, as if crafted for her paintings, and earthy tones adorned the walls. A glass coffee table gleamed in the center, and a polished dining table stood proudly nearby. It was perfect. "Did you design this?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. James nodded, his smile tender. "I did, but I never had someone special enough to share it with until now." Clara's heart swelled, tears pricking her eyes. The house felt like an extension of her, a reflection of her unspoken dreams. She forgot her doubts, her fears, and let the moment consume her. They sat by the fireplace, wine glasses in hand, the crackle of the flames weaving a spell. Around them, James leaned closer, his voice steady, but charged. "Clara, I brought you here because I can't keep this inside anymore. You've captivated me completely. This house, this night, it's all for you." Her pulse thundered, her defenses crumbling. "James," she whispered, but he pressed on. "Seeing you so alone, it pulls me to you every day. I'm more certain I can't walk away from this." The tension snapped, raw and electric. James' eyes burned with desire, and Clara felt it mirrored in her own as he leaned in, his breath warm against her lips. She froze, her heart screaming, "James, wait, we need to be sure." She said, her voice shaken. "I'm sure, Clara," he said, his gaze unwavering. "I've never been more certain." Their lips met, and the world dissolved. His kiss was fierce, hungry, igniting a fire she thought had long died. Clara's hands tangled in his hair, her body pressing closer as his arms encircled her. Time stopped the wine, forgotten the fire's glow paling against their heat. "Clara," he murmured, his lips trailing her neck. "You're breathtaking. How did I not see you sooner?" Her breath hitched, her voice unsteady. "James, you make me feel alive again, thank you." The wine glass tipped red, spilling across the table, but they didn't care. In the bedroom, their clothes fell away, each touch a revelation. James' hands were gentle yet urgent, his eyes reverent as they roamed. Her Clara felt exposed, vulnerable, but safe as they moved together. She surrendered to the intensity, her moans echoing. In the quiet lodge, she clung to him, her nails digging into his back, her body trembling. With release, it was overwhelming, perfect. After they lay side by side, breathless, the silence heavy with meaning, James turned to her, his voice soft. "What now, Clara, what? Do we tell Nathan? Is this our secret?" She traced his jaw, her smile bittersweet. "Just tonight, James. Let's stay here in this moment." She texted, "Nathan's staying out of friends tonight. Don't worry." A calm settled over her, mingled with exhilaration. They held each other, lost in the night's magic. But morning brought questions. What would come next? Clara knew the story wasn't over. It was only beginning. This tale of Clara and James is just the start. And there's so much more to come if their journey has touched. You hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.